What I thought was really interesting was the blog you wrote back in 2008, which was the origin of the GoodDollar story, called The Visible Hand. And I wonder if you could talk me through some of the ideas there, because you were talking about, firstly, transparency in the connection between entities and money, and then giffen goods, which I thought was really interesting as well. So there's two kind of concepts there. And I wonder if you could firstly tell us what those were, and then whether they've managed to last through into the iteration of GoodDollar as we see it now.
So back in 2008, I was, front row seat into the global financial crisis. And the interesting thing I saw there, and this was early days, this is like I was 2 years into eToro, and we saw the global financial crisis. And what we saw is everything froze. Like the system just didn't work anymore. You could, all of the APIs of all of the banks, everything was frozen. You went to sleep trying to figure out if when you wake up in the morning, the money you had in the bank is still there. And at that point, I realized how broken the current financial services system is. It's disintegrated, right? It's based on different financial institutions communicating with each other, and really based on the fact that they're open and not necessarily open 24/7. And at the same time, I sort of took passion to the fact that something wrong is happening because of, if you look at the global financial crisis, the sort of distribution of wealth got completely skewed. And everybody's talking always about this statement of the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And I realized that the reason for that is really how the system works. And unfortunately now, when we see increasing interest rates, right, that's really what you see. Because if you're now very wealthy and suddenly interest rates are going up, then you make a lot of money just on interest rate. You don't need to do anything. You just make money on interest rate without needing to sort of contribute to society at all, just by having your money sit in a bank, where in my view, it should be the opposite. People who actually have more money should get less interest rate, especially on an absolute number, and people who have less should actually get more, because those are the people who need it the most. And when I started looking into that concept of basically getting differential interest rates, so the less you have, you actually get more, then the biggest problem was, how do you find out who has less and who has more in a system where nobody really knows who has what? And that's what I talked about, transparent money, that if you have, and this was 2008, prior to blockchain and Bitcoin, if you really have a ledger and you know how much people actually have in their accounts, you're able to create that differentiator where people who have less will get more and people who have more will get less. And in my view, that is a more fair economic framework than the one that exists today, that leads to the constant increase in inequality in the world, and that actually leads to the poor get poorer and the rich get richer.